continue reading. When the general gives the command to march out, if the shoulder breaks the line, you know what happens. And here it is, the command is given because of our conditions, because of our environments. This command is given to go forward for the reclamation of Africa. And whilst we are on the march, here steps out one of the soldiers of the mighty host, telling us that he has lost nothing, that he is not concerned about the objective, and is willing to compromise the issue of African redemption by being a traitor to the cause of liberty. We hear them tell us that we are the fool's errand because Africa cannot be redeemed, and that England, France, and the other great powers control Africa. Hence, there will be no opportunity for the UNIA to ultimately reclaim Africa and redeem the continent of our forefathers. If other men other times had argued in that way, many of us, this great human race, would be free today. Let me say that again. If other men of other times had argued in that way, how many of us of this great human race would be free today? That's the way it was said. If the early fathers of American independence had argued about the strength of England, would we today have been under the protecting influence of the Stars and Stripes? If the revolutionists of France had compromised with the power of Louis, would we today have a French republic, a French democracy? If the revolutionists of Russia had compromised over the strength of the Tsar, would we today have a socialist democracy in Russia? After all that history teaches, history that these men are supposed to have read, they come back and tell us that because of the great power of England in Africa, we cannot redeem Africa. Because the great power of France, we cannot redeem Africa. Because of the great power of Italy in Africa, we cannot redeem Africa. The power that holds Africa is not divine. The power that holds Africa is human. And it is recognized that whosoever man has done, man can do. Let's say that again. The power that holds Africa is not divine. The power that holds Africa is human. And it is recognized that whatsoever man has done, man can undo. Until God take possession of Africa, there is no impossibility in the redemption of Africa by the 400 million Negroes of the world. And God has not yet taken possession of Africa. The Englishman is in possession of Africa. The Frenchman is in possession of Africa. The Italian is in possession of Africa. The English, the French, and the Italian are men. What are you? And then the people were crying, men, 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 men. If you are men, how dare anyone say that Africa cannot be redeemed when we have 400 million men who are determined to fight for the redemption of Africa? The redemption of Africa is going to be spiritual as well as physical. A physical one. If your heart is not right, you cannot redeem Africa. If your soul pulse does not beat correctly, you cannot redeem Africa. If you are as cowardly as those who tell you Africa cannot be redeemed, then Africa cannot be redeemed. But all of us who are not cowards anyhow, we have buried so many cowards and we have resurrected so many bold men who are determined to do or die in the cause of African freedom. We of the UNIA, that we feel, unlike Pickens and his crowd, that Africa can be redeemed. We know that Africa cannot be redeemed by mere speeches, by mere editorial articles. We know that Africa can only be redeemed by the sacrifice of human blood. And we are prepared to give even the last drop of blood so that one of these days the red and the black and the green will flutter on the loftiest hilltop of our motherland, Africa. These had to be inspiring words. This is 1922. You know the old-time darky. He does not think of liberty in the terms of blood. And that is why he has never been free. Any sane man or race or nation that desires freedom must first of all think in the terms of blood. Why even the Heavenly Father tells us that without the shedding of blood, there cannot be any remission of sin. And how in the name of God, with history before you, do you expect to redeem Africa without preparing yourselves, some of us, to die? Now that death could be a spiritual death of what you've learned and been taught. It doesn't have to be a mental a physical death. So we can go there. The UNIA is preparing to go all the way. The UNIA is preparing to go the way of all other peoples who have fought for liberty. We are preparing to go the way of George Washington and the noble patriots of this great country. It is the way of the sword and of blood. And let me tell you that the hour is drawing nearer than some of us seem to understand. Nearer than some of us seem to anticipate. Do you not know, men and women, that in every 10 years the world undergoes a change of some kind through warfare? Even in our own country, America, for the last 100 or 150 years, every 10 years this country has been at war. This is in 1922. Take the history of the great European powers. Nearly every 10 years, everyone has been at war. And let me tell you, in another few years, we are going to come in contact with the bloodiest war mankind has ever seen. The stage is set for a bloody Holocaust. 1922. Marcus Garvey said the stage is set for a bloody Holocaust. You may expect it tomorrow. You may expect it next week. You may expect it next year, or you may expect it 5 years from now, or 10 years from now. But let me tell you, it is coming. And all students of political economy and of political science hear the rumble and see the signs. It is coming, it is coming, it is coming, and it will soon be here. The UNI will not make the mistake of Frederick Douglass, of Samuel Constantine Burke, of Samuel Lewis, of Conrad Reeves, of Booker Washington, for not preparing the minds of the people for the approaching age. No, we won't make the mistake. We are only preparing the minds and hearts and souls and vision of the 400 million Negroes of the world in readiness for the day. It is coming. I say it is coming, and I want to say it is traveling fast, and in a short while it will be here. And when it comes, with God's help, with God's benediction, 400 million of us shall march not on the battle heights of Cuba in the Spanish-American War, not on the battlefields of France and Flanders and the war between the great European powers, but we shall be found walking out on the battlefields of Africa. Applause. There, once and for all eternity, to declare for the freedom of 400 million oppressed souls. Men who lack vision, men who lack knowledge, cannot see what we are talking about, cannot see what we are prophesying. But every sober-minded student of history sees and knows the possibilities that we are attempting as an organization. What has already been done by other great groups of people, by other great races at other times, the world seems to think is unnatural for Negroes to be serious about. And because the world takes the attitude, some of our most profound scholars accept the belief that Negroes should not be serious, should not be ambitious. If any other race was agitating the cause that we agitate, the whole world would pronounce the righteousness of it. If Irishmen were agitating for the cause we are agitating, the whole world would believe it's righteous. If the Jews were agitating for the cause we agitate, then the world would believe it righteous. But because we are Negroes, the world thinks it's a joke. 911 is a joke. Our 911 is a joke. One of these days, the Joker is going to surprise the world. The sleeping Joker may yet become the most serious man of the age. Yeah, boy. And the UNIA is preparing the race for such an attitude, so that I trust you, who make up the membership, that none of you will pay any attention to these irresponsible, shallow-brained individuals who have been trying to criticize the UNA. I say irresponsible because no one of them can show anything done, anything accomplished.